The US and Iran. It's one of the most tangled, hostile relationships on the planet. But why? To really get it, you can't just scroll through today's headlines. You've got to understand that this is a story told in two completely different ways. They're living in two totally different histories. So let's dive in and unpack them. Okay, so look at this. Right off the bat, they're not even in the same ballpark. In the West, when you hear about Iran, what's the first thing you think of? Probably its nuclear program, right? Its proxy armies, that state sponsor of terrorism label. The whole conversation is framed around threat. But flip the coin. In Iran, the story they tell is completely different. It's a story of being pushed around for 100 years, of foreign powers meddling, of being crushed by sanctions, of constantly having to fight for their own sovereignty. It's like they're reading from two completely different books. Now, this might be hard to believe, but the US and Iran, they used to be allies, close ones even. So, what happened? Where did it all go so wrong? To find that moment, we have to rewind the clock, all the way back to 1953. This is the event that really poisoned the well. So let's walk through what happened. It's 1951. Iran has a popular, democratically elected prime minister, a guy named Mossadegh. And he does something huge. He says our oil is our oil, and he nationalizes the whole industry, kicking the British out. Well, you can imagine London was not happy. 2 years later, the Cold War is heating up. The US and the UK are getting nervous, thinking, what if Mossadegh gets too cozy with the Soviets? So the CIA and MI6 cook up a plan, Operation Ajax. They stage a coup, kick Mossadegh out, and bring back the Shah, a monarch who's much more friendly to the West. And just like that, for the next 25 years, the Shah is America's guy in the region. Okay, so the facts of what happened aren't really in dispute, but the meaning, worlds apart. This is where those two histories really split. From the US and UK point of view, it was simple Cold War chess. We got to stop the communists, we got to protect the oil, a necessary if messy move. But for Iranians, this was the ultimate betrayal, the original sin. They see it as the moment the West came in and strangled their democracy in its cradle, just to install a puppet dictator. This single event is the foundation for decades of anti-American feeling. It's not just a historical footnote. For many, it's a raw, open wound. All right, let's jump forward to 1979. Because if the 53 coup was the crack in the foundation, the Islamic Revolution was the full-blown earthquake. This is the moment the whole thing just came crashing down for good. So all that anger over the Shah's rule, his secret police, his cozy relationship with the US, it finally boiled over. We're talking massive countrywide protests. The Shah is forced to pack his bags and flee. And who comes back from exile? Ayatollah Khamenei. He's greeted like a hero, and bam, just like that, Iran goes from a monarchy to the world's first Islamic republic. Everything changed, literally overnight. And then, this number, 444. In the United States, this number is infamous. It's burned into the collective memory. It's how many days 52 Americans were held hostage after Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They were furious that the U.S. had let the hated Shah in for cancer treatment, and they were demanding he be sent back to Iran to face trial. The aftermath of this was swift and absolute. Diplomatic ties? Gone. Completely cut off. The U.S. slapped on economic sanctions, the first of many, many more to come. Iran got a new label, state sponsor of terrorism, and get this, when neighboring Iraq invaded Iran, sparking a horrific 8-year war that killed over 1 million people, who did the U.S. back? Iraq. The goal was to box in Iran's new government. So yeah, the relationship wasn't just broken anymore, this was all-out hostility. So as we roll into the 21st century, the nature of the fight changes. It's less about past revolutions and more about a really scary future. The new battleground? It's all about Iran's nuclear program.
You probably remember this. After 9/11, the world felt different. And tensions just went through the roof. Then, in 2002, it comes out that Iran has secret nuclear sites. And what happens? President George W. Bush drops this bombshell of a phrase, calling Iran part of an axis of evil. I mean, that quote says it all, right? For the U.S., the logic was crystal clear. You absolutely cannot let a country you call the world's top sponsor of terror get its hands on a nuclear bomb, period.
So after years of this standoff, of sanctions and threats, something pretty amazing happened in 2015. A breakthrough. A deal. You've probably heard of it, the JCPOA, or the Iran nuclear deal. The idea was actually pretty straightforward. Iran agrees to dial its nuclear program way, way back and let inspectors in anytime. In exchange, the world lifts those crushing economic sanctions. And for a hot minute, it really felt like, wow, maybe there's a different way forward here.
Yeah,
that didn't last long. Just 3 years later, in 2018, the United States just walked away, pulled out of the deal completely. The argument was that the deal was flawed, that it didn't address Iran's missile program or its meddling in the region. So the U.S. brought back all the sanctions and then some, calling it maximum pressure. And what did Iran do? They fired up their centrifuges again. That little window of diplomacy, it slammed shut, hard.
And that brings us right up to today, to right now. And things have gotten scary. That long-running shadow war, where they fight each other using other groups in other countries, well, the shadows are gone. It's all out in the open now, with direct military confrontations. Just look at how fast things have spiraled. It's dizzying. In 2020, the U.S. takes out Iran's most powerful general, Qasem Soleimani. Flash forward to 2024, and Iran launches hundreds of missiles and drones directly at Israel, something it had never done before. The timeline we're looking at here even projects a short, sharp war in mid-2025, with strikes on nuclear sites and Europe snapping sanctions back on. It all leads to a 2026 where nobody's talking, everyone's on edge, and the fighting continues. The old rules, they're out the window. So that's where we land, with this one huge question. When you have two nations that see the exact same history in completely opposite ways, where one sees a pattern of aggression and the other a pattern of intervention, how do you even start to fix that? After nearly 100 years of bad blood, of coups and revolutions and sanctions, the real challenge isn't just about hammering out a new deal, it's much deeper. It's about whether it's even possible to agree on the story of how they got here in the first place.